see the world through other people's eyes. Now, empathy is a quality of character that can change the world.
Well, let me just give a short introduction. So, hi, it's Edwin Rutsch, and this is Dialogues on How to Build a Culture of Empathy. And I'm here today with Luisa Semedo. Semedo.
Yes.
And that's, I guess that's Portuguese name.
It means no fear.
Oh, wow, no fear. Great. And you're in Paris, huh? Are you going to the university, a doctorate there in philosophy?
Yes.
And
I'm at a Sorbonne, PhD student, yes, philosophy.
Oh, philosophy.
And I'm doing a thesis about ethics of empathy.
Oh yeah, and you have a Facebook page too. I can actually show it here. The Ethics of Empathy Facebook page.
Yes, thanks.
And you have a website as well, the Ethics of Empathy.
It's in construction. It's not finished yet.
And I'm looking at your Facebook page too, and you have a picture of the Civil Rights March there, Equal Rights Now. So can you tell me about that? That sounds like that's, why did you choose that picture?
I think it's a very strong picture because the girls in the picture have a very strong commitment, and they are women. I think that is important too, and I feel connected because of my history also. I am half black, half white, so I understand the struggle.
Oh. So you can empathize with their situation.
Yes, I can empathize, and I think that when I was young, it was quite difficult, racism and discrimination, and I think that now it's much better, and I think that we own to all this struggle, and so I feel that I'm endowed to these women and men, and they inspire me. I'm grateful.
Grateful for the work they did to promote equal rights. And for me, it seems like what racism is kind of like judgment, right? It's seeing people as inferior to you, which is not empathic. Empathy is like we see the humanity of everyone. We want our humanity seen. We see the humanity of others. But racism seems to me like one form of many forms of judgment. You can say you're stupid, you're smart, you're inferior, you're, more important. And all those things seem to inhibit empathy.
Yes, I think that is exclusion. It is to exclude someone from our human nature. It's to say this one is not like me. So, and I think empathy is very important, because when we are a child, we don't do this kind of discrimination. We feel empathy through other, no matter what color, no matter. I have 2 children, and they never talk to me about the color of other children. It's something that we learn after. So I think that racism is like empathy that we lose, that we inhibited.
Yeah. So how did empathy become so important to you that you're doing your thesis on it, your dissertation, I guess? Or
yes. I think that is a long story. It came gradually. When I was young, as I say to you, I am, half black, half white. I have these different points of views. My father was an immigrant in Portugal, so I'm another mind, open mind. And also me, I have brothers also. We suffer a little from racism for being considered as inferior. And for me, the question about our human nature, the fact that we are all the same, it was very important to me, very, very young. And so I always search for how can I put it? I always search for universality. All the things, all the books that show that to me, I want to read it. And so I think one of my passions is animals, primatology, ethology, and so I learn a lot about that. And I think that maybe, not sure, but maybe I saw in a book of Franz Duval, the term empathy. I think that was that, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. When I see the picture, how it comes, I think that is that. And also, it was another thing that when I was young, I have a very religious education. In nursery school and in elementary school, I was teachers with nuns. You understand? And so I was the little girl, annoying little girl that asked all these questions. I don't understand very well religion, all that. And so very rapidly, I was, I don't know, 7, 8 years old, and I stopped believing God. And I have all these religious people around me, and it was very difficult. And I have a dilemma. What moral identity I have? If I don't believe in God, what am I mean? What is my moral? How can I know what is good, what is bad? It's really an important issue to me. And so I start to look about that, about an ethic, about the moral, with no God, an ethical that is inside us, that is universal. And I link that with empathy, and that's my work, ethics of empathy. It's about that. It's an universal ethic. Don't need any external law. It's about autonomy.
So kind of what I was hearing is that you grew up and you're half black and half white, so there was kind of like a lot of discrimination when you were growing up.
Yes.
And then also that you were in a I guess in a Catholic school, and you saying at a young age you said, I don't believe in God anymore, and you're looking for the kind of universal values. Why do people do what's I guess for humanity? And it was empathy. It was kind of like the core of
exactly.
Of that humanity. That's how the ethics kind of stems from that sense of looking at other people, looking through other people's eyes and standing in their shoes. And I just posted on the Empathy Center page today a quote by Barack Obama that what you said stimulated.
Yes,
and I'm gonna show it here on the screen. And it's like the sense of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and seeing through their eyes. And that shaped me most powerfully because I'm half black and half white. That a big chunk of my childhood, I was an outsider and didn't fit anywhere.
Yes.
So it sounds like it just mirrors what your situation was, maybe.
Yes, I think it's exactly the same thing. I feel an outsider because of color and because of religion. I'm not fit in any good case, but okay, it gives me an open mind. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's something about that being in between worlds that kind of opens our eyes. I grew up my parents are German, so they immigrated from Germany to the United States. And so I was born like just 2 years after they arrived, and they arrived not speaking English. They lived in a German, sub community, German relatives, German church. So I was actually grew up in the United States speaking German first, So, so I kind of felt a little in between as well. So maybe there's something about being in between that fosters a sense of empathy maybe in some cases. I don't know, but
yes.
it seemed to be.
Are not one thing. We are the two. I think it's a richness. I'm happy about it, even if it was hard at the beginning. I think that is a richness.
Yeah. So it's rich that we can see different worlds. We don't just see one world, but we see different worlds, which is like the essence, the beginning of empathy. So maybe it nurtures empathy. And so so you're deciding to do your whole thesis on empathy.
Yes.
And can you tell me, what are you working on, and how does that research and study look so far?
Yes, so I'm almost at the end, but not yet. I hope this year I'm gonna end. And so it's a very interdisciplinary work approach. I look at all the studies in ethology, neurology, anthropology. I think it's very important because my first concern is to talk about how we put it, Rousseau in the social contract, when he say men as they are. For me, it's very important to begin by that, to reflect about men as they are and as an ideal. We can think about an ideal after, but me, I want to start with that, with the fact that men are a complex living organism, about with all these things, all this history, evolution, etc. And so my work is very, very interdisciplinary. It's really something that is important to me to do that, because I want that all people can read that, not only academical philosopher, professional philosopher. I want that everybody could relate it to what I wrote. And if I don't wrote about the real people, it cannot be read by everyone.
Yeah, so it's the interdisciplinary views. It seems like empathy is at the center of so many different disciplines. When you really look at it, it becomes like a branch to, it's like empathy in animals. That's what I've been finding. Empathy in healthcare, empathy in biology, empathy in, politics. So it can be such a unifying central value.
And philosophy it's also about that. It's also about clarification, about synthesis, and that's the work that I try to do. I try to make the link between all these fields, and to result in the real theory, real clarification. If we want to promote empathy, we must do this kind of work, I think.
So, I didn't quite understand the last part. It's like you're wanting to link the different philosophers' work to empathy?
The different fields, different domains.
Fields. Okay, yeah. Yes. How do they relate to empathy? Yes. Well, on your Ethics of Empathy Facebook page, I've noticed, you have a lot of different posts there from a lot of different philosophers, different, academics, and from a lot of different sources. That's been kind of where you've posted a lot of your material on empathy.
Yes. yes, that I really, when we see, if we defend that men are complex, we must see all these things. You know, I'm very curious about all these fields. I think that it's like a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important. All the pieces are important.
Yeah, so it's like putting empathy at the foundation of ethics, because it's like you can have a strict set of rules like do this because we tell you to do it, or you can do something because you see how it affects other people. Like is it going to hurt
Yes.
somebody? Is it going to improve their well-being? Is it going to make their life better? And
yes, I think that we don't need the theory, because when I think of young children, at the first, the emotional empathy, when they are very young, they have empathic distress about other children are crying. For me, that shows me that they are being primordial. There is something there that is very important. They understand that there are something like them. There is a distress that is very important. You need theory to know that. When a little bit more later, when they have even they have around 2 years old, they start to understand what are the needs of others. For example, my youngest son, I have two. My youngest son, he has 2 years old, and I was going with him to the nursery school, and he was very, very sad about the separation and all of that, and he's crying. And the other children came to him to give him his teddy bear to consolate him, and they understand. They are very little. They understand what are the needs of the other child. That's, for me, it's moral, it's ethics in progress. You see, and they don't need theory. It's all about empathy. I think it's very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen there was some studies. I think it was German studies too, where they showed that the parent or an adult drops something and they can't reach it, and then the children, they see it, and you can see them thinking, and then they just suddenly go pick it up and give it to the adult, because they see that they're in need. And so that's like another story. You just see your child is there, and the other children just see that, and they want to contribute to his
but
well-being.
What is important in that at that level is that it's not just distress like when they are very young. At this point, is really to put himself in the other head, because they give the children what they really want. They give our mother, for example. If it is a much younger child, he is going to try to, with his mother, to consolate the other, and the children, he needs his own mother. And at 2 years old, the children know that the kid needs his own mother. It's amazing. I think it's really perspective taking. It's really a cognitive way of empathy. It's really elaborated. It's very interesting.
I've been looking a lot at like the definitions of empathy. I'm curious what definition you've come up with. How are you defining it from your studies?
I have a definition. I translated to English. I'm going to see it. For me, empathy is a flexible, universal innate faculty that allows us to be affected, to recognize and respond properly to the subjectivity of others.
Mm-hmm.
It is my. I'm flexible because you can develop empathy. We can innovate empathy. It's really a faculty that it's alive.
Yeah. Well, I've been kind of looking at it, and I've kind of it's kind of an evolving definition for me. I'm seeing four parts to empathy. It's kind of like the process as well as the feeling. And the first part is self-empathy. So it's awareness, kind of a sensory awareness of what's going on inside of ourselves, and kind of a self-knowledge, but more of a experiential felt. And kind of the deeper we can feel into ourselves, and the more nuanced we can feel, that kind of kind of helps kind of develop the empathy. So it's as we become more aware, sensory awareness, we kind of can open, and then through mirror neurons, we have kind of like a mirrored empathy. So as I'm waving my hand, you're seeing my hands wave, and your body is kind of mirroring that. Then I'm mirroring kind of the facial expressions, your smile, and kind of the shaking acknowledgement. So that's kind of like mirroring. And then we kind of have that sense of who the other person is. And then there's the third part is kind of imaginative empathy, where we can kind of imagine, people's situation, kind of more of a cognitive part where, and the academics are calling it perspective taking or cognitive empathy, but it seems to be kind of based on imagination. And then the fourth part is empathic action. It's I think it's that taking that appropriate action that you're mentioning in your definition is how we kind of work together. And when we really see our humanity, we work together in a very smooth, frictionless kind of a way. And then conflicts come up, and we try to resolve those conflicts. And I really see this in I don't know if you've done like mediation, conflict mediation, but there's like two parties. They're very mad at each other. They're angry. And in mediation, you kind of empathize with both sides. You hear them, and then you get them to talk to each other and kind of facilitate kind of empathic, relationship. And then sometimes they're this, that way, the other way. And then they start connecting, they start seeing each other's, view. They feel how the other person feels, what's important, what their values are. And then you create it like a plan, like how are we going to go forward? And they'll say, maybe the conflict was two neighbors, and there's a tree hanging over, your backyard, and you're afraid the tree is going to fall, and you want them to cut the tree, and the other person doesn't want to do it because they don't have money. So they're mad at each other, and they're arguing. These kind of conflicts are all the time. So through mediation, they kind of get together, they talk about it, and then they say, well, how are we going to solve the problem? And then they start having this dialogue about problem solving, but they hold each other's, deeper values and feelings kind of in hand. So that's kind of the empathic action component of it. Or I think, it could be like empathic concern or compassionate action, some people call it too. So anyway, that's the basic framework that I'm kind of using right now.
No, it's really good. In my definition, there are the last three that you talk, because I said that allow us to be affected is the contagion, is the emotional, and the recognize, it's the perspective taking, the cognitive. And the respond is the action. Yes, it's that self empathy. I don't know. I don't fit that in my ethics. For me, ethics is always about the other. For me, self empathy, it's a little strange, because empathy is always, for me, it's always in the other. Or maybe if we can live from us and see us from another point of view. I don't know. It's self-empathy. It's a little obscure for me.
Yeah.
Yet. That's why I'm gonna.
Well, yeah. I kind of got the self-empathy. There's different communities who have kind of work on this, and one of them is nonviolent communication or compassionate communication. and they've kind of talked about self-empathy. I mean, that's kind of where I kind of heard it, I think, the first time, but I've heard from others now too. And it's that sense of self-awareness. I don't know, there's something I was going to say, I can't remember right now. It's kind of slipping my mind. But it's just kind of that role of self-empathy. Maybe it'll come, I can't remember. But it's just, yeah, it's like, why is self-empathy important? Oh, I know it now. Have you heard that there's a disease or a condition called alexithymia, or I can't even pronounce it.
Yes.
And Tanya Singer in Germany, I think Max Planck Institute has done work on this. And this is a condition where you can't read your own emotions.
Yes. Okay.
And if you can't read your own emotions, you can't read others' emotions either, because it kind of passes through yourself. So I think that's kind of the self-empathy part, whereas the deeper, it's the one step is to be able to read and feel your own emotions. And the better and more articulate you can feel your own, be sensitive to what's going on in your body, that it opens you to more empathy, more deeper empathy from others. So I think that's kind of maybe one of the aspects of how that self-empathy kind of fits in.
Okay, I'm going to church about that. Okay, it's interesting.
Well, that's what we're just chatting about this. So your thesis, like, how are you kind of structuring that? What's kind of the outline of?
Okay, I have three big parts. One about really the introduction, about empathy, about the definition, the history of empathy, the different forms of empathy. The second part is about theory. It's about the philosophers that talk about that, and also a little bit of my theory, the comparison with other ethics. And the third part, it's about the practical. It's about it's about politics, about education, about culture. It's like that.
So the third part, is that like about how do you implement it more? It's like, how do we transform?
It's more, yes, what is the benefits of it? How we can, yes.
Well, this is so great, yeah, because really the kind of conclusion I've come to is that we need a culture of empathy, that we need to kind of explicitly, articulate kind of that philosophy of empathy, I guess, and as well as to see what we can do to transform society, to transform education, to transform justice. And like in the United States, there's so much conflict between the different parties. And it seems that more empathy could be used to create structures that create, more dialogue and understanding and empathic action within the government too.
Yes. I hope with Obama, with all these speeches that I think is very important. I hope that is going to work.
Yeah.
And with your work either.
Yeah, also. Yours too. So we need more of this kind of work around empathy. And how long do you think it'll be before you finish and have that available?
After the end of the year, this year, I hope it is going to finish. I'm going to finish, and then I must translate to English.
Oh,
It's in French, and so yes.
Yeah, well, put it into Google Translator. I translated your website, your Ethics of Empathy. A lot of it was in French, I guess, and Google kind of translated it so I could look through it. So, yeah. Well, that's there was somebody, Anita Novak. She wrote a thesis on empathy and entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship. And so what we did is we actually went through her thesis, kind of not paragraph, but chapter by chapter, and did a recording of it. So it's online now. So maybe once yours is online, we can kind of go and talk about it. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Yes.
So
yes, yeah. Okay.
so that'll be next year, I guess. So is there any other topics that you think are kind of important to, not important, but just interesting to cover in this dialogue that you'd like to talk about? Or
I don't know, maybe about. I know that you asked that to others about empathy metaphor.
Oh, the metaphor. Yeah. Okay.
Want to know my metaphor? I have many, but it's one that is, for me, I think that is important. That empathy is like a dream, because in dreams we could be another person, another being, another version of ourselves, and in real life with empathy, for me it's about that. It's about it's a possibility of me, it's another version of me, and so it's like dreams, and that is richness also. But others can be also nightmare, because if you put in yourself in the shoes of, I don't know, a psychopath, or it can be something that is very hard to understand how our human nature could be also like that. But it's a very important lesson for the future, to understand how we work. You see, so for me, empathy is like a dream, and the opposite is empathy is like a desert island where we are isolated. Isolation, it's poor, it's cold, it's not rich. It's like that. It's
So empathy is like a dream, and that you can put yourself in other people's dream, other people's experience, and
yes, it's
and
like living another version of, it's never exactly the same. For me, it's very important. Empathy, that does not mean that we are the same as other. That distance, it's a very important thing. It is a weakness to empathy, because we don't know exactly what the other person is thinking. It's a weakness, but it's also a strongness, an ethical strongness, because it's what makes us to understand that the other are singular, are not exactly the same as I am. I think that is a very important notion in empathy, to have this kind of distance. We have a similarity, and similarity in singularity.
mm-hmm.
It's very important to ethics to have this kind of distance. It's not very big, but it's a distance.
Yeah, there's kind of like that sense of two different beings in a sense, or maybe like a boundary or something. If there is I've talked to some people, they're very concerned about empathy, because they feel their boundary has left, and they don't know who they are anymore, and they feel kind of like I don't know if the word trapped is right. You know what I mean? It's like I heard a talk once by Carl Rogers, who I don't know, and he did this empathic listening, and he'd talk about yourself and the other, and kind of seeing that you are separate, but you are kind of dreaming their existence, like you're saying,
yes,
who they are, and keeping that understanding of the difference as well. And he said one time he was working with someone who was so deeply psychologically disturbed. I don't know if it was like psychopath or whatever, psychopathic, or what I guess would be I don't know if bipolar or any of these conditions, that he started entering the world of that person. and he said he started losing himself.
So,
And he was like scared that he would not be able to come out of that world. That's like he's so in that world of that, of that anxiety and fear and dysfunction that he would not, so maybe that is that kind of
yes,
what you're saying is
it's a kind
keeping
of
that.
identification.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes, for me in ethics, it's really about what I talk about to children. It's understand the needs of others. When the children is going to church, his mother, the mother of the child, to console him, he knows that is that he needs. He don't think that he is his teddy bear. That is very important. Is to that distance allows us to know that the others have other needs. No, not exactly the same that we have. And that is very important. That's how we can really help another person.
Mm-hmm. So it's not get lost in the dream, in a sense.
No, lost in the dream. No.
Well, what does a culture of empathy look like? A dream sounds like a very personal, experience. But if you have a whole culture of empathy, what is that? Everyone dreaming everyone else's dream, or you know what I mean?
No, in real life, it's really to always look at the other as a possibility of me, even if in good things and in bad things. Like I said about the psychopath, I don't know. It's really to understand our common human nature. It's very important, and I think I'm thinking about a concept that I like. It's Ubuntu. I don't know if you know. It's an
Ubuntu,
African ethics humanist, and I like that very much. What they say, I am because we are. And I think that is very important. This notion of we are because we are everyone, and in this that is the possibility we could be everyone. And that is very that when I think about that, we respect and we others, because we don't do the exclusion that I thought to you. It's everyone is how can I say it? It's a part of us.
Yeah, everyone is we're all part of each other in a sense.
Yes.
And biologically, I just interviewed Christian Kieslers. He's a neuroscientist in Amsterdam, and he was just, we're just talking about this too, in the sense that with mirror neurons, we're constantly mirroring people all around us. And so
Yes.
it's activating what's going on. So in a sense, our experience is actually a shared experience.
Yes.
All the time, to varying degrees. And
yes, and the others are vital. I don't know if you can say it like that. It's a baby without someone is going to die. It's going to have serious problems. Even, I don't know, people in solitary prisons who are hostage, they when they talk about that experience, that is really hard to be by yourself, isolated. It's something that can destroy you. Others are really important to the self.
Yeah, there's something about biologically, maybe we're just kind of wired to want to connect with people and need to connect, and if we don't, it's almost like that alienation and loneliness just kind of happens.
Yes.
Our bodies just say, "Hey, it's important. You're not getting this, and here's a little message. It's important you to start seeking that connection."
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I think that's because I think the opposite of empathy is really the desert island. You say really we cannot run away from that. It's close. It's uh, it's like that really.
Yeah. So
So
I guess,
empathy is life.
yeah, empathy is life. For me, it's a cornucopia. I say cornucopia because, I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but it's the horn of plenty,
Yes.
where you have a lot of richness of life. So from your work, what have you found that kind of nurtures and fosters empathy? What are the things that you do to increase it and nurture it in yourself and in
In
society?
myself. Um, I don't know. I myself. I like to do some exercises that I think that really help to develop empathy. For instance, when I come from university or from work and I'm really tired and I am in the bus, for instance, or in the subway.
Mm-hmm.
There are all these people that are nervous also and they are tired.
Mm-hmm.
And and I stopped and I look at him and I think all these people have inside thoughts. All of these people wants to get to these homes, to their homes. They talk, they think about their children, and suddenly all the faces start to have an identity, and it's really strong as feeling, and I think that is a very important thing to do. It's again something about singularity, about see similarity. They are all the same as they are all in the same place. All we want to go home, but singularity. All of them have their own life, So in daily, it's an exercise that I do myself, and I think that is a very rich exercise.
So it's just like you just slow down. Are you like just sitting in the park or in the bus or
Yes,
subway, and you just kind of like slow down and really like what is going on in these other people? So you kind of like
yes,
you take your attention
exactly,
and try
exactly.
to put yourself into everyone's shoes and just kind of do a little exercise of that.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, and that yes, it's a Zen thing, and sometimes it's how can I say it? It's ludic. It's I start to imagine all these different lives,
oh,
And,
it's kind of using your imagination to just kind of
yes,
imagine where they are and what's going on for them, and then that kind of makes you feel connected to them and
yes, that's
kind of more
important.
relaxed and calmer, and I guess it's kind of like
sometimes
dreaming.
sometimes it's not relaxing
Oh no.
because if I see someone that I think that is really sad, really worries, it can make me being also sad and worried, and I have the feeling that I must talk to the person, but it's a little bit strange to say to him, it is a little white that I'm watching you, I empathize with you. It's but sometimes I have this need to do that.
Desire to kind of reach out to someone that's sad and kind of be with them and be present with them. Yeah. Yeah, that helps. That we do this dance, and the last couple of times, there's been people who have gone to the side and they look very sad, and sometimes they're even a little tearful, like something's going on in their life. And I would go over and just sit next to them,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of be present, and sometimes then even put my hand on their back or something, just kind of that consoling presence, and just not do anything, just kind of be there. And after a while, the energy kind of, they would, they would start shifting the energy, and we'd start moving a little bit. We'd move together, and then they'd be up and dancing again. And then afterwards, they say, "Well, thank you for that. That felt so good, just to kind of have you there." And I didn't even really do anything, just kind of be there and be present.
Yes. Me, when you talk about energy, it makes me think about something that when I have to talk with someone who is it's not so nice, when we go to the administration, I know it's someone who is not very nice. I trying to be very positive, very, the person talked to me very, very aggressively, and I'm saying my inner energy, and I can say that almost the time the people start to being another person, start to change his behavior, and that is really works. That's something that all can do. All the people can do, and it works really.
So they're kind of picking up through mirror neurons. They're picking up your energy, and it's mirroring and them, and you're kind of
sometimes it doesn't work, but it's almost the time it works.
There's another kind of approach, is to try to see and reflect what is going on for them. Have you tried that? In terms of seeing if someone's very, angry or irritated or, demanding or whatever, that you try to reflect what's going on, but reflect deeper too. Like they might be, I don't know what would be a good example. Well, there's kind of the reflective listening, and where, if someone says, "Oh, you're," I don't know. Maybe you could. What would be something that somebody would say that you would? What would you think? Something that someone would say if they're irritated? Like, would they be bossy? Like, just go do this, or you say, "Oh, you really want me to go do this," or you know what I mean? There's different techniques and approaches for deepening empathy, and one of them is kind of mirroring where the person is, but then looking what is underneath. What it is that they're, why are they kind of irritated in that way, or maybe demanding? And sometimes if you can speak to that, then they feel heard. And just that sense of being heard, empathically being heard, seems to change the energy. That seems to be another thing I've seen.
Yes. Good.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know if you... Yeah, so that's another thing I'm looking at, is like all the different ways. How do we actually foster empathy, in these kind of ways, and these different approaches within ourselves and with others? Like to put together a bit of a curriculum around that,
Yes, it's very important. Your work, I'm very admire your work, and I'm very happy to see you.
Yeah, it's so good. We've been talking for quite a while, off and on, and I'm glad we got it. Yeah, me too. About getting established, and hearing your work is very delightful to hear about, your study and your story, and so I hope we can keep the conversation going. Maybe we'll bring it to a close now, but if there's other topics, or later on, we can always Skype and record it. And look forward to especially seeing your dissertation when it's in English.
Yes, I hope.
Good. Okay, well, if there's anything else, or ready for
No, I think
okay. Yeah, we've talked for about 50 minutes, so good. Well, good. It was a lot of fun. So we'll.
I apologize for my English. It's very poor. It's difficult.
Yeah, it's a struggle. For you. Yeah.
But I promise I'm going to learn more about English, and maybe the next time it will be more clarifying.
Yeah, well, I can just say I had no trouble understanding you, so I had It was no problem for
Thank you.
me. So I thought it worked very well. So I felt I understood your points, and especially your stories are so delightful. So
I have others.
you have more. Good. We'll can write them down, and we'll do another call where you can share more of your stories.
Yes.
Okay, great, Luisa.
Okay.
Then take care.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See the world through other people's eyes. Now, empathy is a quality of character that can change the world.